Disney CEO Bob Iger is once again saying that they're going to try to reduce the amount of output when it comes to Marvel content, saying that they're being oversaturated and they need to focus on quality over quantity and all that jazz. And I've heard this one before, and I'm sure people who've been paying attention to Disney and Marvel for quite some time now have heard this same thing before. I mean, just look at it. I mean, basically made the exact same statements last summer saying they need to reduce the amount of content for that stuff. He said that the quarter before that too. And really, if you look at the upcoming lineup of movies, they really haven't been doing any of that. So I have my doubts whether he's serious about this one, but let's look at this article from Deadline that's kind of going into it, because these statements were made at their latest earnings call. And this is what it has to say about this whole situation. Disney CEO Bob Iger said the company will limit its output of Marvel movies to 2 good films a year, 3 maximum from about 4, and also cut the numbers of TV series spinoffs for the franchise. And this is kind of sending a mixed message here too, because he's saying reduce it to about 2 new films a year, maybe 3 or something like that. But this thing I just had pulled up right now, if you look at their upcoming lineup of movies, 2025, you have Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, Blade. Then in 26, they have a few unnamed Marvel movies. I guess those can be axed, but then they also have the Avengers movie. So maybe this is going to be something that they're going to do in 26 moving forward, push back some of these ones and then continue on. But I don't understand where the magic number of 3 at the most comes from, because I get it. That's just kind of what they're pulling out right now. They don't really know, but it's not like 3 is a good number for them either, because you can look at 2023. That was the worst year for them, and they only had 3 movies that came out: The Marvels, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumanium. And 2 of those movies were definite bombs, but it's actually looking like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was also a bomb too. I made a video about that recently that's going into the financial details of that movie that suggests that that might have actually lost money for them too. You can check that out if you want, but let's get back into this article. Speaking on the conference call with analysts Tuesday after quarterly numbers, Iger took questions about the studio strategy after some high-profile misses led to widespread talk of superhero fatigue. And I know superhero fatigue is an excuse that a lot of studios make when it comes to their movies failing, but I don't think superhero fatigue exists in the way that they make it seem. And also, I don't think the studios believe in superhero fatigue either. Otherwise, they would not be making superhero movies like they do. It seems to me that they're making so many of them because they believe there's still a market for that. So it seems like whenever they say there's superhero fatigue and that's why their movie failed, it's just a pretty poor excuse. Marvel shows will dip to 2 series a year from 4. He called output a vestige of basically a desire in the past to increase volume. We are stemmed from a desire in the past to increase volume. We are slowly going to decrease volume. Iger said he's working hard with the studio to reduce output and focus more on quality, and that overall I feel great about how things are shaping up. And if you can believe it, this article is trying to paint this as somehow bad news for theaters. Reduced Marvel output isn't great news for exhibition, as theaters struggle to return to pre-COVID levels with what seems to be fewer releases overall, as if to imply that it's Marvel movies propping up theaters. But it's not like people were lining up around the block in order to see Marvel movies in recent years, because, well, frankly, they just haven't been very good. And Marvel saying that they're going to try to reduce the amount of output for Marvel content is basically the closest that we'll get from them of an outright admission that what they've been doing with Marvel hasn't been good and profitable for them as well. Because presumably, if these movies were successful in making money for the studio, then they would want to continue making them. I mean, yes, you could have the occasional flop like the Marvels that's just such a monumental failure for them, but if they were overall successful, then they could withstand that storm. But instead, what we're getting is them saying, like, we need to reduce the amount of content, especially after such a disastrous year like 2023. Disney CFO Hugh Johnston described the transition period. We certainly feel good about the upcoming slate and that the business should get back to profitability. We certainly feel good about it being a healthy, profitable business over time. Now, maybe Bob Iger is sincere when he says he wants to reduce the amount of content coming out of Marvel, even though he's outright lied about this in the past. I think maybe it's serious. And what's different between now and then is because then when he said those statements, they had some recent successes under their belt. But now they really haven't had any successful Marvel movie in like the last 2 years. And I'm thinking Disney is just running out of money to spend on these sort of things. So they're more or less forced to try to reduce the amount of content that they're putting out. And it's not like Bob Iger is sincere when he says it's because they want to improve the quality instead of the quantity, because make no mistake, if Disney could just take a dump on the screen and have the audience eat it up in front of them with a smile on their face, then Disney will continue to produce that type of content. But since there's a lot of people out there demanding better quality of Disney and they're not watching their movies until they get better quality, well, Disney is starting to take notice of that, and they're understanding like, okay, if we want to actually make money on our movies, then we have to give people something that they want. But I think they also understand that the fan base that they used to have with the MCU is long gone, and they're never going to regain those people back. They see what they've been trying to do in the last couple of years, trying to regain this woke fan base, and those aren't enough to actually pay the bills for them either. So I think what we're going to see in the next couple of years is more or less a shift where they're going to try to appease more comic book fans, like the people from the original MCU, but also doing it in a different way, maybe like kind of like a middle ground between the two. And they're going to see if that's enough to actually make them successful. And time will only tell whether that'll work for them. But I'm thinking it's also long gone, because we're never going to actually get back to the old days of the MCU. And I think this is just going to slowly die out. They're going to have the occasional successes, like maybe Deadpool and Wolverine's probably going to be another successful movie, but I think those are going to be the rare exception as opposed to the rule. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest in entertainment news. And if you can, maybe click the like button and share the video, because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.